Hey there, food fans. Welcome back to the Food for Thoughtcast with me, your host, Melissa Reagan. I am honored to be joined by Andy Ellwood, the CEO and founder of Stretch. Hi, Andy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. How are you today?
I am doing amazingly well. It's a gorgeous day in New York City. Got a cup of coffee. Birds were chirping. It wasn't overly hot.
I'm also
grateful. Yeah.
What's the temperature there?
66 this morning when I woke up, and I was like in the low 70s, which in August in New York City, amazing.
It's 90 degrees here in Dallas, and it will be 100 by 3 p.m.
Yeah, I was wearing my hoodie this morning when I was sitting out on the porch.
So, gross. I don't want to hear it. That's not fair. It's not fair. Like we talked about before we started recording, I had just moved away from Raleigh, North Carolina. And the day that I left, which was last Thursday, it was 70 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Andy, what was the most amazing thing you ate this week? I ask my guests every week.
I'm very grateful to get to spend some time in Montauk, which is the far end of Long Island. And we have an amazing grocery store there called Gosman's. And it is literally across, if you open the door to the grocery store, the door across from it is the pier where the fishing boats come in.
That's amazing.
So I made some soft shell crab for the family and it was just perfect. Some good Old Bay seasoning, little salt and pepper over an arugula salad, and with some crusty bread to rip and dip. It was a lot of fun.
Did you triple bread those, or just like a really light?
Just very, very light.
One time man, people sleep on Old Bay, but there's something magical about it that's really hard to duplicate.
Yeah.
So
there's we do it a bunch of different ways, but this weekend was Old Bay, and just a little bit of breading, and off to the races we went, and there were none left.
That sounds.
I was hoping for leftovers, but
that sounds incredible. The only part I've been to that's even close there is Huntington, and I think all I know about Montauk is maybe there's a lighthouse there. No idea.
But
there are probably a lot of lighthouses.
No, it's the only one.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, man, I might be misremembering. That sounds incredible. I haven't had a hold of a soft shell crab in a minute, so I'm gonna have to remedy that.
Yeah, tis the season.
Yeah, 100%. So I came through Vicksburg, Mississippi by way of North Carolina and Atlanta last week when I was moving cross country, and went to this little place called The Biscuit in downtown Vicksburg, all 2 streets of it. And it's like right there on the Mississippi River. And I had these really amazing deviled eggs, but they were topped with spicy fried catfish nuggets on top.
Oh, nice.
It was insane, like hot sauce and like big chunks of. I remember commenting to my mother. I think everybody grows up making deviled eggs, maybe, especially in the South. But instead of relish, I could tell that they like hand cut dill pickles to be in like the yolk mixture. And I was like, dude, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was like, why haven't I been putting fried catfish on top of my deviled eggs all my life?
I know. I think the deviled eggs is probably one of those no questions asked. If it's on a menu, I'm going to order it.
Yes.
Just because I want to see how they did it. And and like, there's the way that we've all had it. Yeah. But then people are getting pretty creative with like just that delicate little egg as a vessel.
I want every variation. I want your sriracha, your candied bacon. 100%. I want your wasabi deviled eggs. I want all the things.
Yeah. I mean, eggs are just such a great vessel for anything. Like, one of my friend's dads used to always just say, just throw it in the eggs. Like, while we're having dinner, he's like, put it in Tupperware and we'll throw it in the eggs. And like, it works.
Yeah. That's how I feel about potatoes too. It's kind of a canvas, Yeah. Andy, talk to me about Stretch and Basket.
Yeah. So I have been building companies, I guess, kind of all my life. I grew up in Texas and had a lawn mowing company like all kids do. And that kind of set me off on my entrepreneurial path. Studied finance, got into, sales and luxury sales and then started building startups and was fortunate that a few of them went pretty well. But I started thinking like, a lot about like problems that I grew up with, right? Problems that, I'm the oldest of 4. We grew up, in the Dallas area, and like our family had enough, but like in hindsight, probably like just enough.
Yeah. Right? Like nothing to get ahead, nothing extra.
Yeah. Like my mom had a cookbook that was called the Once a Month Cookbook, and she would do her recipe planning so that she would use every ounce of every jar and can and bag of things that we bought on the first of the month.
We're losing that as an art.
And she would make one trip to the grocery store last for a whole month. Right?
I could never.
Yeah. And with 4 kids, right? Like literally, just incredible looking back. But like in hindsight, I was like, oh, this is like her project, the way she does it. But in like hindsight, it was like, because she had to make the budget last until dad's next paycheck, right?
Right.
And so that kind of got me thinking, like, I was like, that was a real problem. And like the best part about building companies is when you fall in love with the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
And so 2013, I was like, we have a source of truth for everything we buy, like Zillow for our homes or Auto Trader for cars or Expedia for travel. But when it comes to how much do my groceries cost this week, we just walk into a local store and hope that we have enough money in our bank account to pay for the food that we're walking out of the store with, right? It's really hard to plan your budget ahead of time. And 90% of people shop with a grocery list of some kind, but that list is not tied to prices. That list is not tied to inventory. And so in 2013, we're like, what would a smart grocery shopping list look like, right? The company I built before that was called Waze, the traffic and navigation app. And I was like, if we took like all this information from a lot of different shoppers, like that's a lot of good data that maybe we could use to find prices, that we could find deals, that we could find ways to save money.
You have to pardon me, I'm a little bit starstruck. I freaking love Waze. That's awesome.
Yeah, I opened the New York office for them and like built up their team until we were acquired by Google.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So they were an Israeli company, and I helped with the global expansion. So
nice.
Super fun, and I learned a ton about in that process. And so that kind of set me off on this path, which first attempt was called Basket.com, and we made a little bit of headway. We're doing pretty well, but then the pandemic kind of knocked us out. But the company that I launched now is called StretchGroceries.com. And it is a smart grocery shopping list that if you tell me what's on your grocery list this week, I'll tell you every store within 5 miles that carries all of those products or similar products to allow for like store brands or swaps where it's necessary. And then what the total price for your entire shopping list is at the store before you leave your house. So it's $110 here, it's $150 there, it's $170 there. And you can make the decision, is price the most important thing for you this week? Is quality of the ingredients the most important thing for you this week? Is organic the most important thing for you this week? And our
distance,
technology,
maybe?
Distance, yeah. So I call it proximity pricing preference, right? How far will you drive?
Fancy.
How much money, right? And like different people, it's different amounts, right? I was talking with a shopper, and they're like, look, on Tuesdays when my kids are in school, like I'll drive 10 extra minutes to save $50. But if it's Thursday coming home from soccer practice and I've got 3 kids in the backseat of the car, I do not care how much it costs. I just have to go into the store, grab the 3 things I need for dinner, and get out.
Right.
Sometimes it's distance, sometimes it's price. And so Stretch is a free tool that allows you to be able to know what your choices are. And it's been really amazing, the reaction that we've gotten, especially this summer with grocery prices being as high as they are, up 35% since the pandemic. It's not just a low class problem. It's not just a blue collar problem. It's an everybody problem.
Yeah, it certainly affects everybody. How much involvement did you have in the shopping? When you were growing up, as you got older, like how did you end up in the kitchen? How did you start cooking?
Yeah.
What's that journey look like?
I was homeschooled, and Mom used grocery shopping as a way to teach math, and used meal planning as a way to teach fractions and science. And so, super involved, really incredible. Just the way that she kind of like incorporated daily life into like teaching and learning, and it was fun. And I always enjoyed being, helping out and things like that. But I really didn't start like cooking like to where it was like a passion of mine until I got divorced. I married my college sweetheart. We were together for 12 years, and moved to New York City together, and then got married and got divorced. And sleeping on couches in Queens, and like my mom was pretty worried about her son up in big old scary in New York City. And so I just started like tagging pictures of food that I made for myself as Chef Andy, like just hashtag Chef Andy on Instagram. And it was just a nod to my mom, right? And so I was meeting a lot of new people, and somebody who I just met was like, Andy, we just lost our celebrity chef for this nonprofit event that we're hosting this weekend. Is there any chance you'd be willing to donate your chef services to this nonprofit? And I was always like, of course. Like, how can I help? They're like, great. We have 40 people coming for dinner, and 11 of them are vegan, and we need 3 different entrees and enough appetizers for one long table with.
Were you just like losing it? Were you just like?
And I
completely
didn't
losing
know.
it?
I didn't know enough to say no.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, okay, sure. And I just figured it out. So in my studio apartment galley kitchen, I just grilled up like steak, chicken, and vegetables, and like made a bunch of salads and like put them in trays, and then Ubered over to this event. And they're like, all right, Chef Andy, tell us what we have for dinner today. And like served 40 people. And
you made like meze platter for like 40 people. That's incredible.
And I just didn't know enough to like say anything different. So people started calling me Chef Andy after that, just for fun. So like I created an Instagram account, and then the Instagram account basically just said like, this is your visual menu for the next time we hang out. Pick something and I'll make it for you. And that led to a bunch of other opportunities. And
wow.
so food, my family was always the family growing up where we had people over, right? We always had people over.
Yeah.
And like we were the house where everybody ended up. And so, cooking for large groups, my mom did it effortlessly, like without really thinking. And so that's kind of turned into a passion and something that gets me really excited, but also keeps me very connected to the food that I'm making, the groceries that I'm buying.
And like where you came from and in your entire story, like just rooted and grounded. Like that's really the power of saying yes, isn't it? Like that's just insane.
Yeah. Well, I always say like, the reason to say yes to things is to become the person who can do the thing that you just said yes to, right? Like I didn't know if I could do that, but I figured it out, and I actually met like 3 or 4 people that I'm still very good friends with from that dinner.
That's incredible. And it's about making those connections, right? Like I've certainly worked at jobs I didn't enjoy or tried things that didn't work out, but I've built relationships along the way that will outlast those moments in time. 100%. Or, I've also heard it said is like, you say yes now so you can say no later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Paying your dues, as it were. Right.
Yeah. A buddy of mine named Greg Eisenberg, big podcaster, but a friend for a long time. He talks about increasing your luck surface area. Right? Like luck is going to find you, but if you have more space for it to find you, it's going to find you faster and maybe more frequently. And so that's kind of like
making yourself available, visible, all the things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. So Andy, what's the buy-in on Stretch? Like, is it membership based? Is it fee based? Is it completely free? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's always gonna be free for the shoppers. We're not gonna charge people to save money. And so we make money on the back end with data and being able to, Instacart will pay us a percentage if you choose to have it delivered. So the it's always gonna be free for the shopper. And we just crossed over 17,000 families that have joined already this summer. So pretty excited about it. And we're still new. We're a growing company, so feedback is a gift. So if any of your listeners decide that they want to check out Stretch, we put a big feedback button there in the middle, so we can find ways to make it better and have it work for you the way that you grocery shop. But it's fun because everyone grocery shops in some way, shape, or form. And so but the thing that nobody's ever had is the visibility into price, the visibility into inventory, and understanding their choices. And so that's something that we're excited to bring.
Yeah, I mean, you can always see like the sales items and the coupons, but if you get the mailers, like even the digital ones, that's really that store's like highlight reel, right? These are the things they have to push. These are the things that they have quotas on. These are the things that like they really have to move. But for somebody like me who works 60, 70 hours a week, I do make like the same 4 or 5 dishes in a row, and I've cooked so much in my career that I'm not making a meal every single night. I might make something and eat it 3 times, and then maybe the rest of the week is like too busy. So the for me, like the consistency is the key. And like I plan on using this service actually this next Monday when I go grocery shopping, because I haven't lived here in 2 years. All the grocery stores are different. I'm like, I know what worked before, but like, I don't know what's around now. Having just moved, I've got a pantry and a fridge to rebuild.
100%.
So
100%.
nifty. I can't wait.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear your feedback. Yeah. No, and the thing is, the prices have never changed faster, right? Not just sales prices.
It's
like the actual list prices.
The volatility is just insane. It's insane.
Yeah. And the list price is the part that isn't visible outside the store. Right. Like, and by the time you get to the store, right, you've already committed, right? You're not going to walk in and be like, oh, this one's $4.99. I was expecting to be $3.99. Like that on one item, you're not going to change. But if you can do that across your whole shopping list before you get to the store, there's a lot of savings that are available.
I will say there've been many times where I've walked into a Walmart or an Aldi or out in North Carolina like Publix or Wegmans and gone like, oh, I thought they had this, but they don't have like whatever specific thing I was looking for, and I go like, well, then I'm just not buying it because I'm not going to another place, because time is money. So
100%.
Okay, so my chef brain is going collaboration. Like, what's the next step? Is there any chance of like we build recipes, we build meal plan, we build like, what is it?
Yeah, you've got it. So the recipe feature, I'm really excited. Our head of product, who's shepherding all of the feature development, she was at Hungry Root first, so she built out their personalization for the meal delivery service, and then she went to Grubhub, and so she's obsessed with data and food. And so we talk a lot about what recipes will look like, and we are thinking about how can we add a button on anybody's website underneath any recipe that just says, find these items on Stretch, right? And it automatically imports a recipe to the app and prices it out for you.
Yeah.
Also being able to just take a screenshot. You can do this now. You can take a screenshot of a recipe and upload the screenshot into Stretch. Stretch will turn the screenshot of the ingredients into a digital shopping list for you and tell you how much it costs to make that meal.
It's incredible.
And then what the total price for all those items would be at local stores.
That's amazing. So that's
we're working on making that, but we're working on making it seamless, where it's just like a quick button to do it.
The integration.
But right now, like literally just take a screenshot, save it to your photos on your phone, and then upload the photo to Stretch. Stretch will do the rest.
That's incredible. And what about the other direction? Like, is pantry optimization maybe? Like, I have these things. Yep. Tell me what to do.
Yeah. So there's a lot of conversation in technology now about the agentic future, about like the way AIs will do things for us, and most of it is hype for the big AI companies, and it's it's a good news cycle for technology. But when you think about the thing that I always encourage people to do is think about AI as a very helpful assistant that will do things if you give it really clear instructions. But where it gets really interesting is when you start to give it enough information where it can start to act on your behalf, right? Where it can start to think for you. So you think about what you said about going to the grocery store on Mondays. There's probably some things that you buy every week, and there's probably some things that are pantry staples that allow you to build recipes with the things that you buy.
Rice, beans, pasta, things like that.
And so we can imagine a future where you upload a picture of your fridge and a picture of your pantry, and say, what's the least number of things that I need to buy at the grocery store today to make another week's worth of meals? And it would be able to say, oh, well, you have these things, if you just buy some chicken thighs and maybe a head of broccoli, you've got the rest of your meals for the week, right?
Yeah.
And then here's the store that has those two things, those three things at the best price. All your meals for the rest of the week for $11, great, right? That's the type of future that we can imagine, where especially for people like the family that I grew up in, where it's the end of the month and we're just doing what we can to stretch. That's a lot of the motivation that we have, and I think it's not just for families like the one I grew up in. Everybody's affected by this now, right? And not everybody cares about saving money, but nobody wants to overpay, right? If you could get it at a better price and it's available to you, if you knew that, you would do it, right? And so I think that's the opportunity that we see by bringing the technology that exists to this very expensive chore we all do called grocery shopping.
Right. I mean, I think that there's a lot to be said about kind of like the privilege of having like an easier, faster way to do something, that the technology like this or like platforms like this are kind of like evening that, out the playing field, like leveling it out. This is what I want AI to do. I don't want AI to write like poetry. You know what I mean? Like exactly. I want it to do this so that I can make art. You know what I mean? Like,
that is the exact correct thing that it should be doing, right? Like if I wanted a picture of me dressed as an astronaut, I could do that myself in Photoshop.
You should go paint it.
yeah, exactly.
Be tactile again. I think we've forgotten how everything's a button.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
everything's a button.
that's and I think that you're hitting on something that I think a lot about, which is what's the anti-trend, right? If the trend is do all these things with AI, like what's the tactile thing? Like, and for me, it's making food and sitting at a big table with people that I love. You know, like that's the tactile thing.
Yeah. All right. So if somebody invites you to fancy dinner party, what's your go-to? What are you bringing? They ask you to bring something.
I have something that I've a recipe that I've developed over the past 15 years that I call proprietor salmon. I dream one day of being the proprietor of an establishment. I just like the term.
It's a lot of work.
And all of my friends who own restaurants say, don't ever do it. It's a horrible thing to do. But I really love the idea of it. So proprietor salmon is a salmon dish that I make that when I make it, people are just like, I've never had salmon like this. What is this? And it's a combination of brown sugars and cayenne and salt and pepper on the top. And then I put it in a tinfoil boat and put it on the grill. And the brown sugar kind of seals in the top, and so all the juices get sucked in there. And then I serve it as like a whole 4-pound fillet, and then people dive in, and it's it's al dente. It's not quite cooked the way that you would expect it to be. It's not sashimi, but it's like it's warm enough that you're like, oh my gosh, this is great, but it's not the way that a lot of salmon ends up coming out. And so so just the grill is better. I've done it whatever vessel I have, but if I've got a good ripping hot grill with some lemon juice, that's usually the main that I'll bring over.
I love it. There's something that's like really timeless about spicy and sweet, but I think I started noticing that trend with salmon when air fryers first came about. People were doing like chunks of salmon, and they would make this like dry rub to go on them, and it was like brown sugar, salt, garlic, pepper, cayenne, or paprika, which is becoming like it's the white folks' gold standard for we're putting paprika in everything now. Sorry, I said what I said, but oh, that sounds incredible, because I could just picture like how that caramelizing that sugar is holding that moisture inside, like. And
it's pretty fun to like pull out a 4-pound fillet and put it on a big platter.
That's a showstopper.
But during the pandemic, and this was a very unique time in life. I had a backyard in the West Village in New York City.
Unheard of.
I had to mow my lawn on the weekends.
My God. Please explain to the girl from Texas where you keep a lawnmower in New York.
Yeah, I built
a closet.
I built a little storage shed out in the garden.
Oh my goodness!
I had just enough grass that So during the pandemic, I built an outdoor kitchen, and I had a smoker, I had my Weber grill, and then I had a pizza oven. And I was bored. I was stuck inside, and so it became a meat speakeasy. So I started smoking briskets. And I would put out a message to my friends. I'm like brisket comes off at 5:30, and all of a sudden people would just like quietly walk in, file into the backyard, and like I'd drop a 14-pound brisket, and it'd be gone in 30 minutes. Like not even plates, like just like fingers in, ripping meat open. So I miss being able to do that, because that was a special time in New York to be able to like. But I don't know if you were in New York or spending time here, but like. The pandemic was really interesting because it was all the shop owners, it was all the chefs, it was all the business owners staying open and serving people who stayed and who didn't move to Florida like a bunch of people did. And so as a result, like I'm really good friends with everybody on my block. Everybody in my neighborhood. I'm still friends with a lot of the shop owners, a lot of the restaurant owners, a lot of the chefs, including 4 Charles, which is the #1 steakhouse in New York City. I lived at 18 Charles.
Wow.
And so I've got a rescue dog, and he needs 3 walks a day. So I went out regardless of what the shelter in place or whatever the rules were about COVID, and I would see them like hey, we just had another cancellation, or hey, we're trying this to-go thing. Like you could literally get what is now the hardest table in New York City to get a reservation for. They'd just be like, hey, we had a couple openings, you guys want to come in? I'd like go drop the dog off, grab my wife, and like we'd go the best meal in New York City.
Right.
So I am grateful to have had the chance to experience it before everybody else, figured out how great it was. But that was a unique time, to say the least.
Yeah, it's a moment in time. I mean, super important to be safe, but like also you have to take your dog out. So like, what are you going to do? I spent 3 weeks in New York in 2021. It was like the second phase of COVID.
Yep.
And it was the prevalence of the outside lean-tos to eat in.
The streeteries.
The streeteries. And so I remember on St. Patrick's Day standing in the cold alone, and it's very hard to get a table for one in New York, as I'm sure you're aware. Sometimes it can be, and all these couples and four tops were being seated, and I was like shaking in the cold, and I was like, I just want to have like my Guinness and go home. Like I was in Tribeca, I was like, I just want to experience the St. Patrick's Day, like New York St. Patrick's Day. And eventually I realized that I was being skipped on the host list. And the host has like it's like an iPad on the like a keg outside like a beer barrel. And so finally I just scream across this like makeshift outside seating area with heaters. I'm like, that anybody who lets me sit with them, I'll buy your next round. And some people from Europe were like, come on over, like we got you. It was awesome. So I love that. Yeah, love it. Was awesome.
Only in New York.
I was like, I just want to sit. That's all I want.
So that's it. That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was like I can't speak for New Yorkers, obviously, but it was definitely a very unique time. So for a lot of things. Yeah. So in today versus the way that you grew up, what do you think is different about the way that we stretch meals? Like, do you think the priorities have changed? Do you think is it ingredients? Is it health? Like what's that motivator?
Yeah. I mean, I think that understanding just how much went into processing the processed food that my parents grew up with, that they probably, a lot of how I grew up. Right. I think that there's just a knowledge around, that it's not like that. There was a lot of marketing that happened in the Mad Men era to convince people of what you should buy and how you should buy it, and that this is healthy for you, and that everyone should be drinking a gallon of milk a day, and like all of the things,
it's also kind of the epic rise of the box the box cake mix and the
and so I think that I think there's just an awareness of like what you put in affects how you live, and all of those things. So I think the awareness is part of it, but then also like you could go to the grocery store for $60 as opposed to like it's the same as it costs for me to fly home and see my dad now. Like it's my weekly grocery trip, So, like when groceries cost the same as a flight. Yeah. It's you're kind of starting to question. All right, that doesn't seem quite right. When it's all said and done. So I think there's an awareness of ingredients. There's an awareness of the quality of the ingredients, the organic, the way it was made. And people are they're stretching their budget any way, shape, and form that they can, but they also have a lot more understanding of the companies that are behind their food, right? And they're looking for ways to eat more local. They're looking for ways to eat healthier. They're looking for ways to give their kids nutrients. Yeah. But also, there's more dietary restrictions than there's ever been, and it's such an interesting. It's more complicated than it's ever been.
Yeah. Well, there's more diagnostic access too. Exactly. So I love it. People are like, people didn't have food allergies when I was a kid. No, they just died and nobody knew why. Like, thank God we understand now. Can you please 100%. Just not put a peanut in this? Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I think, that just people are just so much more aware, and also, celebrity food culture,
sure.
The Food Network has got a lot of people thinking so much more about, like trying something new, or being further outside the box, or and fighting to get reservations, or trying new dishes, and the world keeps shrinking. Like a friend was just in Las Vegas, and they're like, oh my gosh, and then they had this great place from New York, and we went there. I was like, You live in New York. Why don't you just go to the one? I was in Tokyo last year, and
because everything's better when you're on vacation. That's why.
It's true. I mean, I guess it's true. But in Tokyo, they're like, "Oh, did you try the New York Steakhouse while you were there?" I was like, "No." Like I wanted to
that's
I'm sure
weird.
you like that, but it the kind of New Yorkification of everything, or the infatuation.
Oh, sure.
They have a new segment called the samification of the country, where it's just like every corner now has a Van Leeuwen ice cream, and every corner now has a sweet cream, and every corner now all these things that you used to have. There was only one.
Yeah,
now they're everywhere. Places
that used to be like destination places.
Yeah.
Now it's every. I think samification is like a really great way to say that. I in the 2 years that I had just finished living in North Carolina, I think I ate. I was already a fan of Carolina barbecue when I moved there. I love acid. I like mustard and I like acid. And while I was there, I would ask people where the best barbecue was, and they would be like Prime Barbecue, and I'd be like, "What kind of barbecue is it?" They'd be like, "Texas." I'd be like, "No, absolutely not." They're like, "Yeah, but you're from Texas." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, which means I could throw a rock and hit a good brisket." That I don't want that. Like I want whole hog Carolina barbecue. And they're like, "Oh, you got to drive like 30 miles." I'm like, "What is wrong with you guys?"
Fine, cool. Tell me where to go.
Tell me where to go. I'll make a day out of it. But oh my God, no, I don't want the best Texas barbecue in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that.
Yeah. And I think that somewhere in there is the anti-trend, right? Like there's something in there about when you can get anything anywhere, how do you find the things that are worth and truly local, the things
and
that
then it becomes
everywhere.
It becomes even harder to then you have to create what is the next this is the thing that nobody else is doing, right? Then all of a sudden you're the pioneer. Right.
I was talking with a chef friend of mine, and I said if you think amateur chef's observation, I'm curious your thoughts on this. The most memorable dish of every country is peasant food that's been elevated in some way, shape, or form. What is the peasant food of a country that none of us have heard of that's going to be the next big thing?
Right.
And his answer was Filipino food, which I was like, I don't actually know if I've had that. I've had a lot of dishes, but I don't know if I've ever pursued or found a Filipino restaurant, even in New York City. And so, I lived in Jackson Heights when I was sleeping on couches after my divorce. And Jackson Heights in New York City is the most diverse zip code in the country.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And so you can literally get 50 or 60 different ethnicities, cuisines, without leaving the neighborhood. And so that was kind of my bright spot during a hard time. Was I was like Afghani food. What's Afghani food like? And Afghani place, and then go right next door to the Colombian food place. So it's I love seeing a country through their food and also through their grocery stores. You learn so much about a country through what do they stock at the grocery store.
It's one of my favorite things to do is buy a hot sauce or go into a local grocery chain and buy a spice blend I've never seen, or just anything that I can sneak in a suitcase, fly back without getting in trouble, obviously.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's one of my favorite ways. You said Filipino, and I was just thinking Estonian. What's the Estonian street food? What is it?
Yeah.
Pick the most random, tiniest country.
Yeah.
Filipino food is lumpia is the biggest. The spring rolls are, but I think that's really that has to be the American food of Filipino food, right? That's probably the most globalized. So I'm with you. There's more I have to learn about Filipino food. Now I have to go find it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Now I have to go find it. All right. So we talked about all the, optimizations that are coming down the line for Stretch. Is there anything else in the works, or is this the baby?
Yeah, no, it's, the interesting part about building a company like this is, there's so many different ways that people want to personalize. People want to think about well, here's how I would do it. And I think that, 90% of people have a shopping list of some kind. So, they have a system, right? I'm just saying that the behavior is not as efficient as it should be for the dynamic changing world that we're in.
Yeah.
So I think that the thing that we're going to add next is the ability to where Stretch will go find coupons for you for things that you already buy.
Yeah.
Stretch will go find loyalty programs that you're not already enrolled with that would make this week's shopping list even a better one for you. And I think that that we're just constantly thinking about just giving shoppers that much more of an edge. Because like when I was at Waze, right, I know how to drive to the office, but traffic changes all of the time.
Of course.
And so even though I'm probably going to take the highway, there might be something, before I leave my house that would say, hey, this is what you should do differently. And probably, in North Carolina, you had your default grocery store, like all things being default, this is where you're going to go.
Yeah.
But if I could show you that you could save 20 or 30 or 40% this week because we clipped some coupons for you,
yeah,
you might consider it, right? And so, I think that's probably where Stretch will be for the tens of millions of families that are grocery shopping every week. It'll be you got check it before you go to the store and look to see what your trade-offs are this week.
Right.
And I think that's like when I fly home to see my parents in Texas, I usually fly American Airlines because from New York to Dallas, that's a pretty easy flight.
Yeah.
But I don't go to AmericanAirlines.com to start my trip. I go to Kayak or Expedia.
Yeah.
I always price compare for even a flight. And now that groceries cost the same amount as a flight, it's saying that I don't compare prices first.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Well, we were talking about like consumer behavior, right? So before something like, or after something like Waze existed, like I know how to get to my house, my mom's, my dad's, like work, my favorite restaurants and everything else. But that's a lot of the reason why people now will drive with a GPS on regardless, so that they can get like, hey, do you want to save 12 minutes on this or whatever? Right. So yeah, it makes total sense. Like, why aren't we shopping for groceries that way?
Yeah. So, yeah. That's the thesis. That's what we're working towards building.
I love that. I really think about it that way. It's like the GPS of groceries. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are you cooking this week? What's on the menu?
So this weekend, gonna be doing swordfish kebabs.
Oh.
So we'll be back out at the beach this weekend, and the swordfish out there is pretty special. So
really incredible.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that I've been loving is this new app called Line Cook, and it's like Instagram for home cooks, or even better said, Strava for home cooks.
Yep.
And what you do, like, take a photo of whatever you just cooked and upload it, and it looks at what you made, it interprets the ingredients, and it builds a recipe that other people could have from your one photo. And then it gives you feedback on what you might change next time, how you can make the photo even better looking, the visual appeal, like and all from just one photo. So I had the chance to meet the founders last time I was in San Francisco, and they used to work with Strava, and they both worked with Strava, and they're like, what is Strava for food? And so it's a free download, super cool. Shout out to the Nick and Nick are the two co-founders. So the Nicks, but Line Cook has been my recent obsession of just like seeing what other people are cooking, and I'm like, oh, how did they make that? And then I just like look at the recipe that it generated for me, and I can save it to my recipe collection, and I'll try and make it next time.
It's insane. I love that. Sometimes it's hard to come up with new inspiration, right? Like we have go-tos because we know what we're good at. We know what's comfortable. We know what, if you have a family, like we know what they'll eat, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes that's rough. You have kiddos, Andy?
Yeah, I have a 1-year-old daughter.
Okay. So not so bad to feed her right now, maybe later.
it changes every week.
Sure.
She loved raspberries last week, and so we bought a lot of really expensive raspberries, and now she doesn't like them as much this week. So we're learning. I mean a lot of raspberries, but I'm excited. We have. I know a lot of people whose kids are very, very picky eaters, and so we are doing our best to let her try anything and everything, and so far she's loved just about everything that we've given her. So I'm grateful.
I love that
she tries everything, and our doctor, the pediatrician told us that they'll come in waves, but like she's been exposed to everything at this point. She's tried literally everything. She's currently a huge fan of clams and lobster, which is
I hope that never dies.
Yeah. So I'm grateful that she is already an exploratory eater. Like like my wife and I are.
Yeah. I did read somewhere once that I think it takes 14 exposures to the same food to rewire a neural pathway. And when you have somebody that's as young as 1 year old, like all those pathways are being regenerated because their brain is like growing so rapidly.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so then like you get with toddlers, you get like a food jag where they'll eat the same thing for, 28 times and all of a sudden hate it. And it's because the pathways are being like rewired, which is fascinating to me because, as an adult, like I really still not crazy about like black licorice. And I don't know that there's anything that anybody could do to like change my mind.
You just have to eat it 14 times in a row.
I'm just like, that sounds like a punishment. I just want to do it. Because now I have like, free will and choice and money and adulthood. So I'm just like, no, thanks.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah.
Andy, do you have a food that you just won't mess with?
I don't.
No, really?
No. I eat everything. And like it opens up doors for me. Like I was meeting with an investor in Los Angeles, and so I was like, what part of LA area? And they're like, oh, I'm in East Los Angeles. That's where the big Chinese community is.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, great. I'll come out there. And she goes, no, like it's too far. Like I come to the city all the time. I was like, no, just like I want to go to your favorite local restaurant.
Yeah.
And like let's have lunch. And she's like, okay, if you want to. So then I say to the waitress, like before the investor gets there, I was like, what's the most authentic thing on your menu? Like the one that a gringo would definitely
power move.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, the chicken feet. Like gringos don't eat chicken feet. And so when it was time to order, she's like, this, that. And I was like, oh, can we do order of the chicken feet? And she looks at me like, huh? And it came out, and I just like tossed them in my mouth and just went for it. And she's like, okay, Andy, I'm very impressed, but remember to spit out the knuckles. And I was like, oh.
She clocked you right away.
She knew what I was doing, but it worked. And
I love that.
She ended up getting involved with the business that I was running at the time, and I'm still friends with her.
That's incredible.
She's like the chicken feet was a pretty good move, Andy. I was like, hey, but like trying everything. Like there's some things I don't enjoy, like a lot of mushy things that not my favorite. But like when I was in Tokyo last year, I went. There was an izakaya in the old town, and I went to sit down, and the guy goes, no, and he points to the sign that says eel only, and all the other izakayas have beef and chicken and whatever, and it was only old Japanese men, and there was one seat open. And I sat down, and he goes, oh, and the guy next to me goes, ha ha, and he just kind of laughed about it, and then he brings over a skewer of eel. And I ate it, and it was truly incredible, truly incredible.
Yeah.
And then we didn't speak the same language, but there was kind of all right, you can stay. And so I ended up sitting there for an hour, and had some some facial conversations with people because I was eating what they were eating.
Yeah.
So I think it just opens up doors, and I'm very grateful to have the constitution to be be able to try something and keep a poker face, even if it's not my favorite.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I mean, I think honestly, in every space, it means so much to people when you eat something that's really important to them, really sentimental to them, really traditional to them, without going through the show of oh, it's gross, it's spitting it out, and everything else. Because I think that food unites us, and I think it's the easiest way to get to know somebody, and like you said, to get to know a culture too.
Yeah.
Kind of stripping away all your previous, your preconceived notions and stuff. Chicken feet, I've really tried hard. It's the texture. It's the texture.
Yeah.
I actually use chicken feet as dog treats for my dogs.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense.
I freeze them. And they love them, especially when it's 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
So
totally makes sense.
Which I don't know, is probably low-key offensive to people who eat them on the regular, but what are you gonna do? Walmart has them for $2.97 for a whole package. So
oh really? Wow. I did not realize that. That's
dog's stomach acid, is strong enough to they're made to eat all sort of things. We're the ones who kind of put them on kibble. But when something's frozen, it forces them to chew with their back teeth, which scrapes the tartar off.
There you go.
So science.
Learn something new every day.
Science. All science. Okay. So I was also wondering if Stretch will ever get into kind of like the wellness corner, or will there ever be anything on this platform where it's like, if you want more fiber, choose this. If you want less gluten, choose that. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, we conceptually call that household goals. Like, what's the goal of the household, right? So like maybe it's end of the month, it's to save money, or it's like, hey, money, within this budget, help us make the most protein forward meals, or help us with more fiber in our diet. Hey, when you look at all of the things that have been on our shopping list for the past 3 months, how can we all lose a little bit of weight, right? Like, when you start to think about it as a super intelligence that's attached to your pantry and fridge, like, hey, you know a lot about our family, what we buy, what we like, what we buy a lot of, what are things that we could do to save money, be healthier, shop more local, have these goals. And sometimes those household goals will change, right? Like, if my mother-in-law is over, make it gluten-free, right? All of these types of things that you can just think about. Like, if you just have like an easy button on your grocery list, and somebody else did all the thinking for you, what would you want the grocery list to do? Right. So that's absolutely where we're headed.
Okay, incredible.
So these see the way people choose to use it.
These are like, this is in beta, or like this is already available. Okay.
No, these are things that we're testing internally, just thinking about like how we build out. But in the next 6 to 12 months, we'll have all of those things available, and a lot of this, as I said, just comes from the feedback that we get from our shoppers.
Right.
Like there's a big feedback button in the app. You can send us a message, on our website. Everybody shops a little bit different. Everybody thinks about things a little bit different. Yeah. But the common denominator is we all have to eat, and so of course we're just trying to nail the single player version first, and then we can start to kind of grow it from there.
Right. I start to think about people who travel in RVs, people who are packing for camping trips. Yeah. Maybe you can have your account settings or tell it like, we go out to eat on this night, right?
Yep, exactly.
I mean, I think the possibilities are really endless, but like, what an amazing journey to be on.
Yeah, it's really fun, and things are moving and changing so fast right now, across food, across pricing, across technology, across people's motivations. But the good thing is everybody shops for food at some point, and so if we just keep that as our North Star, make it smarter, make it easier, make it healthier.
Just make it something that's less monotonous and less of a chore, and more of like this is a fun thing I get to do with the assistance of with this platform, or with the AI. I think you can really transform it into something that, because I know a lot of people enjoy grocery shopping, right? Yeah, for some people, it's their only chance to get out. For some parents, it's like that's their child free time. And I think that, like, I used to really enjoy, my grandmother didn't make lists. She liked to wander the aisles. I say that it wasn't aimless. Like, there was some intentionality there. She knew what she had in the house and everything else. But I used to love, like, we would walk up and down the aisles and see what looked good, and she liked to look at everything, and she'd look at the prices and everything. But time is such a luxury, right? Like, the time we had in 98 is not the time we have now, even though it's the same 24 hours in a day. There are things that fill it. So, I think this will be really transformative for a lot of people, which is awesome.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah. I have to go back to the swordfish though. How are you seasoning it?
It's a great question. So I'll be over at my in-laws' place, and so sometimes I roll the dice and just see what they have.
Sure.
But a lot of times it's just salt and pepper and a little bit of olive oil. Toss it on the grill, but I'm open to suggestions. Do you have a favorite seasoning that goes well with sword?
I do, and so swordfish is one of those things that is so meaty. It's almost, if it wasn't for it being fish, like, I think that you could be like, is this chicken? Like, what's happening? But it's so meaty and so strong on its own that I think it stands up really well to strong flavors. And what I like to do with mine is like crushed garlic and rosemary. I really like to do that with butter. So butter kind of smokes up on the grill, but I use that for like swordfish steaks, like in a pan. Okay. But it can just stand up to a lot of really strong flavors. I've done I know you said your in-laws were going to be there. I've done wasabi before, like a honey wasabi. So kind of I was doing hot honey before it was a big thing. But yeah, like, because I've always like sweet, spicy, sweet, salty, like all the things together, all the duos.
Honey sword. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't sound terrible, right? And then maybe you confit some garlic, like some roasted garlic paste, and it can like offset that sweet and spicy, like add that savory element to it. Or maybe you do like hot honey miso. But swordfish is so hardy that it can stand up to like everything, right? Like it'll really still shine through, and you can't overpower it. So
my mother-in-law loves hot honey. So
yeah,
I just have to take you up on that.
So you just got to put. For me, I love hot honey too, but I find that you need some like umami component. I don't know whether that's like a little soy sauce or a little miso or
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't go wasting like porcini mushroom powder on something like hot honey, but but you just need like a little, or even just a squeeze of lemon probably could get it. But now you made me want swordfish.
Soft shell crabs and swordfish. Gotta get them in, Melissa.
Yeah, dude, I just moved to the inland, so I think I ate more oysters my entire life in North Carolina than so more oysters in the last year than I had in my entire life. So I have to find some Gulf ones around here soon. I need to hit my bivalve quota. As it were, but I there's something about kind of indulging in the specialties of the area around you, right? People are asking me like, what are you looking forward to the most when you get home to Texas? I was like, dude, Mexican food, please.
100%.
And almost like Tex-Mex, so not like even real, but just nothing like it outside of Texas.
There's nothing like Tex-Mex is its own cuisine. It is not Mexican food. It is Tex-Mex.
It is
very, very clearly not
Mexican food. It's just completely its own. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I want. They were like, not brisket. I was like, no, I don't need brisket. Like, I want like enchiladas.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Andy, I hope you have a wonderful day. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Stick around right after I finish recording and we'll chat for just like a few more moments. But it was a pleasure speaking to you today. I can't wait to see where this goes. Like I said, I'm going to use it. I'll send you an email. I'll send you some screenshots of what happens. I cannot wait. Ways for food. Who knew?
It's available in both of the app stores. Just search Stretch Groceries.
Love it.
And you'll find it. And we'd love to hear about your experience.
Yeah, I can't wait to press the feedback button and say, it's amazing. Don't change a thing. So, all right. Well, for Andy, I'm Melissa. This is the Food for Thoughtcast. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. Bye.